welcome back. Here is our next case study number 18. YS and Associates, a firm of chartered accountants having CAY and CAS as partners, is based at Mumbai. YS and Associates get their website developed as www.ysassociates.com from KPY Limited. The colors of their website was very bright and attractive to run on a push technology. Names of the partners of the firm and the major clients were also displayed on the website without any disclosure obligation from any regulator. So this question is pinching towards our professional ethics, right? We'll discuss it as and when the time comes. CAY accepted his appointment as tax auditor of a firm under section 44AB of the income tax and commenced the tax audit within 2 days of appointment. Since the client was in a hurry to file return of income before the due date, after commencing the audit, CAY realized his mistake of accepting this tax audit without sending any communication to the previous tax auditor. In order to rectify his mistake, before signing the tax audit report, he sent a registered post to the previous auditor and obtained the postal acknowledgement. CAS provided management consultancy and other services to his clients. During 2019, looking to the growing needs of his clients to invest in the stock markets, he also advised them on portfolio management services, whereby he managed portfolios of some of their clients. Looking at his experience in the financial management, Mr. Tarak, a student of Chartered Accountancy course, is very much impressed with his knowledge. He approached CAS to take guidance on some topics of financial management subject relating to his course. CAS, on request, decided to spare some time and started providing classes to Mr. Tarak along with some other aspirants for 3 days in a week and for 1 hour in a day. However, he has not taken any specific permission for such private tutorship from the council. YS and Associates is appointed to conduct a statutory audit of XYZ Limited. XYZ Limited is required to appoint internal auditors as per statutory provisions given in the Companies Act 2013 and appointed CAIA as their internal auditor. YS and Associates asked Mr. IA to provide direct assistance to him regarding evaluating significant accounting estimates by the management and assessing the risk of material misstatements. He also seeks his direct assistance in assembling the information necessary to resolve exceptions in confirmation responses with respect to the external confirmation request and evaluation of results of external confirmation procedures. XYZ Limited is seeking advice of YS and Associates to appoint CAIA for conducting GST audit. On the basis of the above facts, you are required to answer the following MCQs. Okay, this particular question is testing your knowledge on professional ethics and their schedules and parts. Okay, we'll go through each and every point and we'll finalize the correct options for each of the MCQ. Number 18.1. YS and Associates sought direct assistance from CAIA internal auditor as stated in the above scenario. Advice as to whether he is permitted to do so in accordance with the relevant standards on auditing. So what YS and Associates has done is they have took the direct assistance of internal auditor for verifying the significant accounting policies and also the risk of material misstatements, and they have also taken the internal auditor services as regard to the assembling of information. Okay, whether that can be done, that can be done in accordance with the standards on auditing. That is what we need to identify. Here the question is relating to the independence that the statutory auditor that has to maintain and the responsibilities placed on the statutory auditor. Statutory auditors, he himself has to evaluate the risk of material misstatements and the significant accounting estimates of the management. So it is his responsibility. He cannot merely take the direct assistance or the direct help from the internal auditor. However, he can take the services of internal auditor, he can take the help of the internal auditor with regard to the assembling of information. Okay, this is what that needs to be given for this question. We'll go through the options. Option A says YS and associates cannot ask internal auditor CAIA for direct assistance regarding evaluating significant accounting estimates and assessing the risk of material misstatements. However, CAIA may assist YS and associates in assembling information required to resolve exceptions in confirmation responses as per SA 610. So, internal auditor can help with regard to the assembling of information, but not relating to the assessment of risk of material misstatements and the significant accounting estimates used by the management. Okay, assessing of material misstatements and the accounting estimates is the responsibility of only and only of the statutory auditor, and he just can't rely upon someone, and he can't take the direct assistance from any other person. Okay, therefore option A is the correct option. Option B says cannot take the assistance in assembling the services, but internal auditor can help in assembling information. So option B is wrong. Option C says cannot take the direct assistance of evaluating significant accounting estimates and assessing the risk of material misstatements and in assembling the information. Therefore, it is saying that entire thing you cannot even take any help from the internal auditor. That is straightforward wrong. So SA 610 permits the internal auditor to help the statutory auditor with regard to assembling of information, but nothing else. Okay. And then option D says can ask YS associates can ask CAIA for direct assistance. Is that so? No. Therefore, option A is the correct option. He cannot take the direct assistance, but he can take the help of internal auditor with regard to assembling of information. So option A is the correct option. We'll go through the next question, question number 18.2. Whether CAS is guilty of professional misconduct in providing private tutorship to Mr. Tarak along with some other aspirants for 3 days in a week and for 1 hour in a day in the absence of specific approval? Yes, there is no such professional misconduct that has been done by CAS, because he is giving his tutorship only 3 days in a week and 1 hour in a day. It is coming to 3 hours for 3 hours in a week. Therefore, it is not exceeding the limit of 25 hours in a week as per our regulations. Therefore, he is not guilty of any misconduct. So, yes, we'll go through the question options. CAS is not guilty of professional misconduct as he is teaching within the prescribed hours, that is not exceeding 25 hours a month. No, it is 25 hours a week. Therefore, option A is wrong. Option B says is not guilty of professional misconduct as he is teaching within the prescribed hours, that is not exceeding 25 hours in a month. As per regulation 190A, even this is wrong. It is 25 hours a week as per 190A. Therefore, you need to remember both the regulation and the hours for a week. Option C says CAS is guilty of misconduct. No, he is not guilty of misconduct. Therefore, option C is also wrong. Option D says CAS is not guilty of professional misconduct as he is teaching within prescribed hours, that is not exceeding 25 hours a week as per regulation 190A. Therefore, option D is the correct option. We'll go through the next question, question number 18.3. Before signing the tax audit report, CAY sent a registered post to the previous auditor and obtained the postal acknowledgement. Will CAY be held guilty of professional misconduct under the chapter, under CA Act 1949? Yes, he is held guilty as per clause 8 part 1 of first schedule, because he need to take the approval of the previous auditor before even accepting the audit. Here he has accepted the audit and he realized his mistake before signing the tax audit report. Therefore, he is held guilty of professional misconduct as per clause 8 of part 1 of first schedule. Option A is saying not held guilty of professional misconduct, therefore wrong. Option B is also saying the same thing, therefore wrong. Option C says clause 8 of part 1 of first schedule of the CA Act 1949, CAY will be held guilty of professional misconduct since he has accepted the tax audit without first communicating to the previous auditor in writing. Therefore, option C is the correct option. I will go through the other option also and we'll finalize one. As per clause 8 of part 1 of second schedule. No, it is of first schedule only. You might have understood there is no clause 8 of part 1 of second schedule which is dealing with this professional misconduct without communicating to the previous auditor. Therefore, option C is the correct option. This is a straightforward question from our professional ethics. Question number 18.4. In view of YS and Associates, whether CAIA is eligible to undertake GST audit. Who is CAIA? He is an internal auditor, right? How can an internal auditor become a GST auditor? No, it is not possible only. Therefore, internal auditor cannot act as a GST auditor. However, statutory auditor can act as a GST auditor. Okay. So the question is asking, can he do so? Can he act as an internal auditor and GST auditor simultaneously? No. The answer is no. I will go through the options. CAIA is internal auditor of XYZ Limited and therefore is eligible to undertake GST audit of the XYZ Limited simultaneously. No, he cannot. He is not eligible. Therefore, option A is wrong. Option B is saying CAIA is internal auditor of XYZ Limited and therefore not eligible to undertake GST audit of the same company simultaneously. Yes, this is correct. Being internal auditor, CAIA is appropriate person to carry out GST audit of XYZ Limited. No, he cannot act as GST auditor and the internal auditor simultaneously for the same company. Option D is anyway none of the above. The correct option for this question is option B. He is not eligible to undertake GST audit of the same company. Question number 18.5. Whether website designed for www.ysassociates.com is in compliance with the guidelines given in clause 6 of part 1 of first schedule of the CA Act 1949. Is that so? No, he is held guilty. The website is like a pushing of information. We'll go through that point also again so that you will be clearly identifying where it is. Yes, here it is. YS and Associates get their website developed as www.ysassociates.com from KPY Limited. The color of the website was very bright and attractive to run on a push technology. Names of partners of the company and major clients were also displayed on the website without any disclosure obligation from any regulator. So if you have any particular obligation from any regulatory authority, then you need to disclose. But without even such obligation, why are you disclosing such kind of information? Therefore, option D is the correct option. Okay. Whether the website is in accordance with the schedules? No, it is not in accordance with the schedules. Option A, B, C is saying yes, this is in accordance with the schedule. Therefore, they are wrong. Option D says no, as the names of partners of firm and the major clients were displayed without any disclosure obligation from any regulator. Therefore, option D is the correct option. With this, yes, we have completed our case study number 18 also. If you have any doubts, as mentioned in the previous video, please mention the page number and the question number like 18.5, 18.4, so and so that it will be easy for me to identify and address your issue and solve your queries also. If you find these videos helpful, please do like, share and subscribe and share with your friends. Help them to revise at the earliest. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.